I don't know about you guys, but something about this wipe feels drastically different than any wipe I've ever played in the past. It feels empty, it feels dull, and it feels like it has no life whatsoever. I know a lot of you are probably saying the reason for this is the Unheard drama that happened earlier this year, or maybe even the fact that this is supposed to be a short wipe. But I've got a few points to make here that may change your perspective on things a little bit. And of course, the first thing I want to touch on is the obvious elephant in the room, and that's the Unheard edition. For those of you who are maybe new to the game or missed everything that went down a few months ago, let me explain. Back around the beginning of last wipe, BSG announced that the Edge of Darkness edition of the game was going to be going away very soon, essentially making it a true limited edition version of the game, just as it was always intended to be. The problem with this, however, is that if EOD goes, so does the Gamma container. And once EOD was finally gone, a lot of players new and old started to realize that they would never be able to get their hands on the Gamma container again, and this caused a major shift in the community. On one hand, you've got brand new players who feel it's unfair that they've never been given the chance to buy EOD, and on the other hand, you have veteran players who feel as if these guys are just salty that they didn't start playing the game sooner. The result of all of this caused a lot of players to take their grievances straight to BSG on none other than Reddit and Twitter, and this sparked BSG to announce in an interview with Pestily that they have a brand new edition coming to the game.
There is a question about a few people asking because they missed out on buying Edge of Darkness. Will you Edge of Darkness ever return, or will it be sold in bits? So for example, would they be able to buy the Gamma container at any point?
There will be a new version of the game pretty soon.
Okay, and they'll be able to get the Gamma container there?
Yeah, there will be Gamma container there and also like other pretty cool stuff.
Is it going to be better than Edge of Darkness?
Yes.
Okay.
At first, nobody batted an eye at this announcement as it was buried in a roadmap of other very good changes / updates coming to the game. Well, as most of you know, that all changed on April 25th when BSG dropped the Unheard edition and the community was instantly set on fire.
I don't want it for 6 months. I want it forever. I paid for it. I don't want this shit. Give me what I paid for. This can't be real. And then after 6 months, also the higher priority matching time, get the fuck out of here.
Now, I don't want to dive too much deeper into it because I could literally talk about this for hours and still not be able to cover all of the details, but essentially, the community was mad, and rightfully so. The biggest change that was introduced in the Unheard edition was PvE, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later because I feel like PvE is one of the biggest problems with the health of the game right now, but we'll talk about that later. With the entire community being extremely upset with BSG, I'm sure you can imagine that this would affect a player's decision to continue playing the game. As the drama unfolded over the course of that week, I guarantee a decent percentage of the player base gave it up for good, never to return to the Norvents region again. So in my opinion, the start of the problems we're experiencing with this wipe feeling very different begins with the loss of a lot of the player base at the beginning of the Unheard drama. Now, do I believe that some of them came back with the new wipe? Sure, but BSG lost a lot of players that day, and it's going to be really hard for them to earn their trust again. Because one of the main issues that players had during the drama was the fact that BSG had previously promised that EOD owners would get any future DLC for free, and when Unheard Edition dropped with a price increase to EOD owners, a lot of people felt very betrayed by BSG, and I totally understand why. Now the only question that remains regarding the Unheard drama is the damage done reversible or is it permanent? Only time will tell. Now, the next thing I want to talk about in regards to this wipe feeling very different is the integration of arena progression and the main game progression and the decision to remove the Found and Raid flea market. Last wipe, both of these changes were made to the game and it felt like a consensus win overall. Personally, I think they're both very good changes to the game, but I also think they could use a bit of adjusting in the balance department. While arena integration overall is a great change, I feel like it's almost too powerful in terms of leveling up and ruble earning potential. Back in the good old days of Tarkov, it would take the average player roughly 3 to 5 days to gain access to the flea market, and nowadays all you gotta do is play arena for a few hours, and just like that, you've got flea access before you even accept your first task. For the casual players, this is a huge win because now they have options when it comes to leveling up. For the more experienced players, this just puts the game into ultra easy mode, as most of them will be able to power level to max traders very quickly. Now, do I think they need to remove the ability to level up in the main game by playing arena? No. But I do think the XP needs to be seriously adjusted simply because the progression to swipe has been sped up tremendously because of it. With that being said, another issue that arises alongside of this is the removal of founded raid flea market. This one change alone has completely changed the economy of the game to swipe, and it has made it way easier for players to earn millions and millions of rubles. The funny thing is, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Some of you might be saying, oh, well, the sweat lords can just grind out max traders and then flip those items on the flea and make 30, 40, 50 million rubles within a week of wipe. And my response to you would simply be, okay, the sweat lords and chads are always going to be rich no matter what. Them having 30, 40, 50 million rubles in the first week of wipe makes no difference whatsoever. If anything, I think players having more money overall is a good thing simply because they will be more geared going into raids. One of my biggest annoyances and pet peeves of early wipe is fighting players with garbage gear for the first month of wipe. This wipe, however, I was running into players that had decent gear in the early parts of week 2. Now, with all of that being said, do I think flea market flipping and trader flipping is a bit too powerful? Yes. But to me, it makes the game a bit more enjoyable having access to rubles and not being worried about going broke. But let me know what you guys think. Is the non-founded raid flea a good or a bad change? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Now that we've talked about the Unheard drama, arena integration, and the non-founded raid flea, it's time to talk about what I think the biggest issue as to why this wipe feels so much worse than wipes of the past, and that's PvE as a whole. Now, before you PvEers pull out your pitchforks and throw a riot, let me explain. I personally have no problem with PvE or anyone who chooses to play PvE. I myself have no interest whatsoever in playing it, but I'm glad those of you who enjoy it have the option to play the game the way you want to. The problem I have with PvE and how it has majorly affected this wipe is the simple fact that it splits the player base by a very large margin. And not only does it split the player base, it also takes a lot of the casual players away from PvP and leaves lobbies full of sweats and more experienced players. Now, am I saying that there are no casual or new players playing PvP? No, I'm just saying that most of the casual players and newer players are over on PvE getting one-tapped by bots on a regular basis. And what that means for us on the PvP side of things is a wipe that feels much different as a whole. But again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. One last thing I'd like to mention before we close out this video that I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on is the influx of rats and cheaters. One of the main reasons players move to PvE and enjoy it much more is because they don't have to deal with some degenerate sitting in a corner statued up waiting for some Chad to come by because they're complete dog shit at the game and can't get loot any other way. Okay, I'm going a little too hard on the rats here. While I do hate rats and wish that they would cease to exist in the game, of course, I can't be mad at how other people choose to play the game. I have noticed way more rats this wipe than I ever have before, and I can't blame people at all for switching over to PvE because of them. And at the same time, we have a huge problem with cheaters, and I'm sure PvEers are happy to not deal with them either. While I hate that PvE splits the player base so much, and as a result makes the PvP experience much worse, I can't help but be happy for those players who genuinely love PvE and are able to enjoy Tarkov because of it. To summarize, I think as a community, we can all agree that this wipe feels totally different. Whether it's the Unheard drama, arena integration, non-founded raid flea, or PvE to blame, there's no doubt in my mind that things are different and this might be the future of Tarkov in the early wipe. Or I could be totally insane and 90% of you guys don't feel like anything is different whatsoever. Who knows? What I do know is I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments. I want to know if it's just me that feels this way or if most of you guys think something's off too. Either way, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to catch me live, it's the first link down in the description. I stream basically every single night. And also, I feel like a lot of you guys don't know this, but we have a community Discord that's also linked down below where you can find some new people to play with or just get involved in our growing community. I'd love to see more of you guys in there. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.